Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Commute Quarantine Conversations. My name is Adam.
And my name is also Adam. I mean Will.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Commute Quarantine Conversations. My name is Adam.
And my name is Will.
And we are joined today once again by our lovely wives, Hannah.
Hello.
And Rachel.
There you go.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
A commute is an everyday movement from point A to point B. And as followers of Jesus, we choose to move from less of ourselves to more of him every single day. And we are on this commute with you, listeners, and we're here to empower and encourage you on your daily commute along with the Houselor's cats.
Yes. They are very present in this conversation.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this is the last episode of Daily Commute Quarantine Conversations. All right, so if you listen to the intro episode of this podcast, you know that we had very different intentions for this, but then the coronavirus hit, and right around the time that we were going to launch the podcast, so we felt like there were really important conversations to be had that centered around that and what following Jesus looked like amidst a pandemic, and so. Plus with like the stay-at-home order, of course, we had to record in separate locations. So it just kind of changed things. And so, you know, thus this Quarantine Conversations things was born. So this is the 10th episode of Quarantine Conversations. We feel like 10 is a good number. And we've had great conversations surrounding the coronavirus, but I don't know about you guys. I am done talking about it. Not that it's gone, like it's not over. It's still happening. We still have to, you know, be aware, but I don't see a need to talk about it anymore. I don't know that anyone else really wants to. So we're just gonna go back to what we originally planned. If we need to talk about it again, we will. But that's the plan. So this is the last episode of that. And of course, we have Hannah and Rachel here, and they were on our first episode of Quarantine Conversations. So we thought, hey, that would make sense to have them on the last. So we're kind of bookending it with you guys.
The best people ever.
With wisdom beyond.
That's right.
Yes.
Wisdom
That's
beyond
right.
their years.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're the only people that we've had on multiple times. So
Truly
that
not.
is an
Makes
honor.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about you guys, just for anyone who didn't listen to that episode or maybe who needs reminding, which I can't imagine who that would be, but maybe you could do like a rapid fire recap where you just quickly introduce yourself. What do you do for a living, for your job, and how long have you been commuting? Do you want to start, Hannah?
Sure. I'm Hannah, right? I am a high school English teacher for my job, so that has been really interesting for the past couple months. And then I guess, how long have I been commuting with Jesus, or how long have I been commuting with Rachel? Because they're about the same amount of time. I met Jesus when I was really young, but probably started, I know that I started commuting for real, following him for real when I was in middle school. But I've been commuting with Rachel since I was like 6, so it goes way back.
Commuting with Rachel.
But Jesus is more important. Jesus is more important.
No, for sure.
This is what this show's really about.
Yes.
You guys
Hey,
have
I
had
would
it
like to
wrong
take
this whole
credit
time.
though for this podcast, because without Rachel and I, you
Yeah,
two
for
would
real.
never have had the bromance that you have going on.
Oh, that's a
Wouldn't be
fact.
happening.
I guess that's fair.
It's really all thanks to you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, it's why they're the producers. They're the executive producers of this podcast.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
slash, I've spent countless hours listening to you plan for this and practice in the car. So
That's true. Practice in the car.
yeah. with the recording thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when we were testing out the microphones. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah. What about you?
I'm Rachel, and I'm a third grade teacher, and so yeah, that's been interesting. I have been commuting similar to Hannah since I was very young, but then much more seriously, I would say for myself, and I don't know if I said this on the first one, I remember us finishing and being like, I think I was just really uncomfortable. More seriously since like college.
How dare you not say that on the first one?
I know I lied to everyone.
How dare you? So I want to bring back a question, if you guys don't mind, that we talked about on a previous episode, but I really want to know what your answers are. When you were in middle school, you probably created your first email address or your first username.
It's junior high, middle school.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you call it junior high?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Because
Did you
we
call
were
it junior?
advanced.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. Okay. Junior high. What was your email address or a username of some sort?
It's the same one now.
What is it?
Well, it's not my official one. Rachie Smith 13.
Rachie
I was
Smith.
13 years old.
The logic behind that, when like people add the number of their age when they create something
Yeah.
like that, just baffles me.
I also had a Yahoo that was Rachie Tyler.
Oh, okay.
I still have that one on my phone.
Yeah.
Rachie
I don't
Tyler.
have it anymore.
You actually have some that you're not sharing, but that's okay. That's okay.
No, that was it.
Okay.
I couldn't have a lot of emails. I wasn't allowed.
Yeah, so same, right? I wasn't even allowed to make my own. So my mom made one for me that I had to share with my brother. So
What? It's
So
like those
it was-
Facebook pages for husband and wife.
yeah, exactly. It was my brother Ben and I had a joint AOL account.
goodness.
Yes, called HBH9914 because I think 9914 was like the last 4 digits of my mom's childhood phone number. And so
Wow, that's a deep cut.
yeah,
obvious.
really nothing
Man.
of my own to stand on. And then I wasn't allowed to have like a MySpace or an I didn't have Instagram
Well,
I guess
no
it
one
wasn't
had
Instagram
around.
didn't exist.
until-
Yeah.
Then. Yeah.
Yeah.
MySpace, I guess. I wasn't allowed to have a MySpace. I
Facebook. It would have been
had
Facebook.
Facebook
then.
in later high school, I think.
I never had MySpace. We were kind of like right outside of the MySpace realm.
Yeah.
Because we got everything late. So it was like,
Our friends
I
who
got my Facebook
were allowed to
when I was
live
13.
their lives, they had MySpaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
kidding.
secretly had a MySpace.
Did you really?
Yeah, if my parents are listening, they're just finding this out. But yeah, I secretly had a MySpace.
I remember getting on our
secretly
friend
had a
Brittany's
Facebook
MySpace
before I
and
was
just
allowed.
looking at it like, wow.
Yeah, I
The whole new world.
I made one over at Dom's house one day. It was funny. Yeah, with a fake email.
That's awesome. Was it T Woods 007?
It
Was
wasn't.
that your
No,
username?
thanks for
Oh.
bringing that back up. No, that was
Yeah,
just
you're
my
welcome.
Xbox Live gamer
Has
tag.
he told you that that's, he still uses that username on things?
Oh,
that's
I
not
know.
from the.
Gotta keep it consistent. Absolutely.
Gotta keep it consistent. I get it.
Look me up
So-
on Game Center.
So I feel that I have to repent a little bit because we had this conversation on I think our third episode, and I said that my middle school email was not very exciting at all, and it wasn't. But I was forgetting that I had a YouTube username that I'm quite ashamed of, and my sister pointed that out to me after that episode, and I was like, man, I really should have shared that, but I was also kind of happy that I didn't. But I just feel the need to just come clean and be honest with you guys.
Thank you,
I had
Will.
a YouTube channel. You're welcome. I had a YouTube channel. I think I started it in 5th grade, and it was my first YouTube channel. I YouTubed all through my whole life, and my username was it was Becca Lover 2.
No.
Because I had a girlfriend, my first
Oh,
girlfriend
no.
ever, and her name was Becca. But I knew 2 Beccas, and she was the second one because they call themselves Becca 1 and Becca 2. So that's where the 2 came in, but I don't know why it came.
So
It wasn't like Becca 2 Lover, it was Becca Lover 2, and I don't know why.
That's,
I had passwords
I'll
like
tell
that,
you what,
not
that's-
emails.
That's better than a tattoo. So
That's true. Oh,
But
you
with
didn't
that
know?
digital footprint, is
He
there
does
difference?
That's like the 5th grade version of getting a tattoo of your significant other's name.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's like
Anyway.
that's like the millennial.
That's
version.
fantastic.
Yeah, I felt the need to share that, and I'm actually, I
Thanks.
feel
Do you
feel
feel-
weird
and-
sharing that.
Feel lighter.
Thanks for coming clean.
I don't know. I feel I
like
feel,
creepy, a little.
I don't know. I feel like I've exposed myself.
Hmm.
I'm pretty open, but that I don't talk about very often. All right. Anyway.
Anyway.
So this conversation, is just kind of a bookend of all of this. So this last 3 months been pretty weird. What have
Really?
you? Yeah. There's this pandemic going on, among other things. So what's this experience in the last 3 months taught you? What have you learned?
This is
Man.
just open.
Just open.
Good
Whoever
question.
wants to answer first. Adam can answer first if he wants to. It
Yeah.
doesn't
I like
matter.
that.
I can
Go ahead,
answer.
Adam.
I can answer
Go-
first.
Go for it.
Will, you and I have talked about this a lot, but I think, especially recently, but I think that for me, I realized personally how important it is to be disciplined. I stole yours?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We can share it.
That was my one.
We're in marriage. We can share everything, even our answers on this podcast. Discipline. I think, and I'm not, and I'm not saying that because I've been good at it, because I haven't. I think I've just come to see for my own walk with God, number one, but also, just things like health. I don't know. I know how prone to apathy I am in general as a person. and I think being at home, being in quarantine has a tendency to push you into the things that you're weak in, at least for me, and that's my own apathy. And there's a clear delineation on a day-to-day basis for me where if I'm disciplined at the start of my day and intentionally spend my time with Christ and the Word, exercising in some fashion, and then getting into work without being distracted by all the things you can get distracted by, my life looks completely differently. I'm a different person to Hannah. I'm a different person at work, and so I think I've learned the importance of that just through experience on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of that and say that good intentions aren't good enough. Because I even thinking about it, the first time we sat down together at the start of this, it was really at the very beginning, and it seemed just kind of like a blank slate, and we were going to do all these things, and I was going to read all these books and start all these habits and whatever, and good intentions aren't good enough.
Yeah.
So there's definitely things that I feel like I have been disciplined in that have been incredibly fruitful. But there are other things that I think I squandered time that could have been used really well. And I let that slip by, whether that was in front of a screen, because you're in front of a screen all day because of work. And then just giving into the temptation to check out when I did have more free time, as opposed to using that constructively.
Yeah.
So it's like a double-edged sword. There's been great blessing in the areas where I was disciplined, but also lost, I think, a lot of things that could have been equally great because I wasn't disciplined. So,
Because you were watching Lost.
because I was watching Lost. Ugh.
Well, you've
So
exposed us.
true.
Yeah. that's the
Same
that's a-
here.
We're all watching Lost right now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Watching
it's
Lost.
it's super weird because we were just catapulted into this season where there is little to no guardrails, little to no like, you know, like we had like natural rhythms of like you wake up, you go to work, and like you come home, you eat dinner, you know, like these things that are just, they're there because that's just the way life is, because you've got these things you have to do outside the home and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden you're at home and you have so much more control, and creating your own discipline is so much more important, or else you'll slip into doing whatever feels good in that moment.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a hey, discipline is important.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to take more initiative yourself to do that.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's something that we experienced.
Yeah, and I feel like I didn't really learn that until like I was done with the school year, and like,
Yeah.
you know, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know, it's probably like I had all these great plans for like, I mean, we talked about it, like a schedule and time cut out for like doing puzzles and doing things that aren't just like sitting and watching TV. And I didn't, you know, there were some days that I did good at that, and then other days where it was like, I don't know what I did. I had so much time.
Well,
but
there was grace. There, you know,
Yeah.
we were trying to be easy
Right.
on ourselves, knowing that it is more difficult in this season.
it's just interesting that you learn it once it's like
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah,
I mean,
once
there's
you've
still
already
summer, but
failed.
like it's it's
Yeah.
already done.
Yeah. I learned that Lord of the Rings is phenomenal. I watched all the movies for the first time. Treebeard is my favorite character, by the way. I like him. Yeah.
I didn't think
That's
that was
another
funny.
podcast.
That's what?
I said that's another podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast just about Treebeard.
I don't know why I thought that was really funny when you said it, because right before we started this, I read that you had it written down.
Oh, yeah? You didn't think I was actually going to say it?
No, I did. It's just funny now. I don't know.
It's one of the most valuable things I've learned this whole time.
Yeah. I learned that I like iced chai lattes and drinks other than water. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known that without the time that I had to just try
That's
different
true.
things.
That's true. There
We
was
baked
a lot of
bread.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people baked a lot of bread.
We were both
I made
bread bakers.
I made banana bread for the first time in my life. Like, I think it was my first time making anything like that at all, and I did it, and it was good.
It was impressive.
You guys made donuts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we did
That
make
was the
donuts.
fun
They were
part of
so
this.
good. That was really so fun.
We
I
have
think
so much oil now because we haven't continued.
we do have a lot of oil because we were like, we're gonna make donuts all the time, and so we bought like so much canola
so
oil.
much
and,
oil.
but we're set now. We're ready. If it's like, if the calling comes upon us to make donuts,
We
we are
have it.
ready to rise up to
to
that.
rise like the
Because
dough.
dough rises. No, but like really, like I think we learned that how life-giving hobbies can be. Like when you stretch yourself, when you do something new, making donuts, not something honestly I ever thought I would do, but we did it, and it was so fun to do something different than what we normally do for fun. Because watching movies, watching TV, going for walks, that was getting old, and so we're like, hey, let's try something new, and it was really life-giving to try something different, and
Yeah.
it actually turns out we're like pretty awesome at making donuts. So
Can
do you
confirm.
disagree? Do you think we are not awesome?
No, it was just a little prideful.
Oh,
and you know
well.
how I feel about that.
Yeah, well,
Learning.
it's the truth.
Yeah, I feel like there's things that, like, there were things that I mostly baked over this that, like, you look at and you're like, oh, that takes time. Or I need, like, this handful of ingredients. I don't feel like doing that. That's, like, I'll wait and do that on the weekend. And, like, there was no excuse for not, like, you had all the time in the world. So, and then you learned that it's really not that, I don't know, it's not that it's scary, but sometimes things seem like too much work, and so you don't do it, and then in the end it's
Yeah. Sometimes you have to put in a little bit of work to do something restful. Like you have to actually discipline yourself to do something that's going to help you be like, wow, I've actually enjoyed this day,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, oh, I don't feel like doing this or that, so I'm just going to watch TV because that sounds like the best thing I could do with my day. And not that there's anything wrong with watching TV. Like, we love stories. We love, consuming good stories. Although 90 Day Fiancé does not fall into that category.
Does for me.
Neither does Tiger King, although, wow, it was entertaining. But But yeah, like I think that's something I've learned is like, yeah, it actually takes a little bit of work to do something enjoyable, and that's
Like driving an extra like 10 minutes to go to a different part.
Right,
Like sometimes
right,
that feels
right.
hard and you're
Yeah.
like, well,
yeah.
for stupid reasons, but then it was so fun because you learn,
Yeah.
you find new places.
Yeah. I think another thing is, and we don't have to spend really any time on this, but like how valuable social interaction is. Something I
Yeah.
learned. Like
True.
how much I crave a handshake even still, you know?
Or a hug.
Or, yeah. It's
Oh my
like,
gosh, Rachel and I hugged for the first time this week, and it was a
It was
long one.
glorious.
Yeah. Did it make you want to cry?
A little bit.
Just felt right,
Yeah.
you know?
It feels wrong till our church is meeting again in a safe way, and it's weird to watch. It feels wrong to like say hi to people and not shake their hand. Like it feels like I didn't actually
Yeah.
say hi to them. You know, it's just interesting. But it's weird because I've never thought that'd be something I'd be like, man, I just really want to like hang out with a bunch of people right now. But it's like after so long of not doing that, like it started to like affect me in ways that I think I never would have imagined. Because sometimes just like hunkering down inside at home sounds fun. The introverted part of me says that, but then the extroverted part of me was actually like dying without me realizing it. I don't know. It was weird. And one other thing that I'll add, and then that's it. That's all I learned. The importance of being part of a church outside of a building. And what I mean by that is like having a church community and still being connected with them even when you're not showing up at the building. Like we are pretty new to our church, and we don't have that many connections. We don't have that many deep relationships. But the relationships that we did build, we did maintain some connections with them throughout all of this, and it was super needed, I think, during that time. And I can't imagine not having that.
Yeah.
Did you want me to elaborate?
No, I don't know. You can.
I think like just on the flip side of like, oh, you know, how important social interaction is, and like the way of I missed it and I like recognized its lack. I do think that this season was good in just reteaching us how to be intentional with the relationships that are closest to us. You know, so
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily making new connections or even like connections that were already kind of fragile or, you know, didn't have like those strong cords attached to it. Maybe I wasn't as investing in those as much as I could have. But like, I think of even our conversations with our own family, just like the depth that sprung up in these last months that hadn't been there before, or had been there, but just being really intentional of like sitting down and talking about the church service we just watched from our couch. And like that was really sweet. Or even, you know, with you guys taking time to be intentional, we've got friends from California that we got to spend some time like really, you know, talking with more often than we maybe would have been able to before. And so there's like a double, I think I've used that phrase twice already, but that double-edged sword of like, oh, I miss this so much, like the casual nature of it, but also like being able to dig deep in a way that had been difficult before, or I was too distracted or too busy for before.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
interesting.
You know, it was really good.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting that. Yeah, it definitely does when you have that casual. I like how you phrase that. When the casual gets taken away, it's, you know, you've lost that easy out almost to relationship, and so all you're left with is nothing or be intentional.
Right.
And so it becomes almost, this sounds weird, but it almost becomes more acceptable to like, people are more willing to say yes, I feel like, to conversation than maybe they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Which I know we probably start talking about, you know, the things that we'll take away from this, but I think for me that's something I wouldn't want to lose. in those close relationships you've talked about, but I even think about at work. You know, the team that I work with, I'm so used to just walking by people and saying hello, you know, how was your weekend? And I feel like gained a lot in terms of relationship with my coworkers, even through that casual nature. And if I am not intentional to reach out to them, then that relationship decays. And so, you know, I think that's taught a good lesson. And so that's something I hope to take forward from this, is not just rely on casual, on the casual relationship for any of the relationships I have with people.
Yeah. So what can we all take away from this? How do we move forward and grow from here? Like, based off the things we've learned, you know, what's next? You know, we've learned it, and now life is starting to get back to normal a little bit. What are we holding on to out of all of that?
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest things was what I was just sharing, but I also want to continue forward with this discipline. I want to continue to push forward and be better with that. I hate that in situations like this, I feel like my life is on repeat, where it's like I go into something with best intentions, and then I get it to the other side and be like, man, I missed out again on you know, I had these great plans and then didn't do them, you know, whoops. So I don't want that to happen anymore. I don't want to get to the other side of this, like, next few months and say, oh man, what I should have done is taken those things I've learned and put them into action, but I didn't really do that. Well, I'll do it going into the next school year or something. You know, I don't want to be in that position anymore. I really do want to take these lessons that I've learned on how to, you know, what it takes to be disciplined, and just do it actually, and not learn the lesson and let it go. So that's the biggest thing for me, is, you know, stop learning lessons and throwing away what I've gained.
But how gracious of the Lord to reteach.
That's
again
that's fact.
and again.
That's a fact.
I might have just touched the microphone. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think that's a really good point, Hannah. And I think too, you know, like, it is really important to actually do something with what we've learned, you know, but also we learned a lot. I think over this time, like, I've got a note pulled up here that has way more things that we didn't even get to talk about. And I think we have to think about, okay, what's most important? What am I going to focus on? What discipline am I going to focus on? Or what thing am I going to try to improve in my life? And I think, like, simplifying it and focusing on one or just a few things, I think sets us up for success. You know, like, I think it was easy, also hard, but like easy to add a bunch of habits and disciplines when during this time. But then as things start going back to normal, I think you're going to be adding things back to your life that were taken away by the coronavirus. And so your life's going to be way too full. And so I think we have to, like, acknowledge that if we're going to add something, we also have to take something away. And I think we have to be careful, I think, with setting too high of expectations, like saying, like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, you know, when things get back to normal, when maybe we don't have the capacity for it. Like, even new hobbies, you know, like, if we said, oh, we're going to make donuts, you know, every week now, you know, but then we get back to our routine of something else, you know, then we're going to find ourselves feeling pressured to find time to make donuts. And that kind of defeats the purpose. So, yeah.
That's a good point.
I feel like there's just, like, a general way of life, for me at least, that, like, I can't totally merge into like when we're kind of back to normal, but just like a slow pace that was kind of a gift for me, I think, in terms of just being able to kind of recognize things that I have, or I don't know, like even just like appreciating things that I hadn't been able to for a while, like nature and, you know, taking walks. And those are all things that I can do when I'm back in like full speed, but I can take the time to slow down when I have those moments. And even like with my kids in my class, like having to do things so differently and not really being in a classroom where I can like, okay, we have a schedule and we have this and this and this. Like there was so much more time for me just to get to know them and to do fun things and to have conversations that I try to do during the school year, but I don't think I'm as intentional with. And I'm hoping that when we go back, I can remember like it's all going to be okay. I mean, they're all moving forward now. So if it means that like one day for the very like last hour, we just stop, and, you know, if it was a hard day, we take some time to just hang out, like that's okay, because this has happened and we're going to be fine. So I don't know. There's just certain ways of living that I think just being slower and more intentional with time, you know, with friends or with at school or just in my own life, taking walks and taking longer time talking with God and stuff like that. Just, I think I want to try and retain even as we go back with something that might feel a little fast paced after we've been moving a little slower, but I don't know. That's what I want to keep.
Yeah, that's really good.
Really good, Rach.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I think I've been thinking, I have like a couple thoughts, but I think this has reminded me of the importance of playing the long game and not just like the short game, you know, like as we talk about discipline or habits or you know, we live in a culture, and I am so guilty of this, of wanting that instant gratification or that instant result. You know, I put in this effort and now let me see the gains of it. But just playing the long game. And although 3 months, 4 months, however long this is really not that long in the grand scheme of things. It was a pretty good chunk of a season, you know. And so just if you're faithful, you know, on the little things, like that adds up. Even if you're like even if you find yourself at like an 80-20 or a 70-30, you know, like it adds up in your relationships, in your habits. And so that, and the other thing that we talked about a lot at the beginning, when things were being really kind of just mundane and rote, was just the importance of actively choosing joy. And we talked about, like, we have this little thing in our kitchen that has that verse from Romans 12. I think it's Romans 12.
I think that's right.
About being joyful in hope. And so just when, like, we even at dinner would ask each other, okay, where did you choose joy today? Or where did you find joy today? And like the habit of asking each other that made us start to look for it more.
Yeah.
You know, mostly because I just wanted something to say. Like, I didn't want to show up empty-handed. But I think that habit, like carrying that into the future of, okay, like, am I keeping my eyes open? You know, like, what's the Lord doing? What is he gifting me with today? Is it that bird song? Is it this conversation? Is it this email from a kid? Is, you know, like, what is that going to be? And even when you don't feel it, like choosing to take joy in the hope that we have as believers, you know, that transcends all of the fear and unknown. So
yeah, it's cool how a lot of these things that we've learned, we never would have realized without slowing down. Like, it seems like that's kind of a common thread, you know, if you don't slow down to see the things that can bring you joy.
And having things stripped away. Like, there was things we would fill that time with, or our brains with, that got taken away, and you had to recognize.
Totally. Yeah. What just really quick, one thing for me that I learned that is just really significant, that I think goes along with what the both of you were just saying, I think I want to change the way I view interruptions to life, because because this was such a huge interruption, and it made me really frustrated because I wasn't able to do my job as well. I wasn't able to be as effective at work because everything was just kind of flipped upside down, and I had to really evaluate where I put where I find my self-worth. Yeah. I had to really think about, is this coming from how effective I am at my job? Because I have to be okay with the fact that I'm not going to be great at my job right now because things are just really, really weird. And so viewing interruptions as just something that happens in life and we can't avoid it, but as an opportunity to find our self-worth and what really matters, and to be patient in the affliction and find joy despite that, because a lot of things have happened in 2020 that just are nuts and didn't think would happen. And so I'm kind of learning that interruptions and difficulty and crazy things are just going to keep happening through life, and it's best to not just
to face them differently.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So, anybody have any other nugs they want to drop on this mic before we wrap up?
No nugs here.
No nugs here.
Yeah.
That one time you sent us a nug hug. That was good.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
That was cool. It was through Postmates
Wendy's
or whatever.
Postmates.
And they sent
Yeah,
us
there's just some nuggets on our porch. It was a nug hug.
Yep. Because we
awesome.
couldn't physically hug.
Amazing. Guys, so this is just like we said before, this is the last episode of Quarantine Conversations, but the Daily Commute, it will live on. It's going to look different. We plan to have more fun with it because things have a tendency to be a little more fun when not centered around a pandemic. So you can consider this season 1. We're going to take a little break, get ready for season 2. We're pumped for that. I'm super pumped.
I'm super
Me too.
I'm the most pumped.
I'm the most pumped.
Thanks for that. So please, guys, thank you for listening. Email us, DM us, say hi. We want to know who you are. That's real. Just say hi. I listen to your podcast. It's not that good, but I listen. I just want to know that you're there. We would love to talk with you and get to know you. If one of these episodes in this last season has struck you, challenged you, or encouraged you, please share it with someone. Some of them aren't super relevant anymore, but I think a lot of them have truths in it that can carry on, and some of them are very relevant. So please share it to Instagram, your Instagram story, Facebook page, whatever, so that others can maybe
MySpace,
glean from that too. So, MySpace, Napster.
Send it to my AOL account.
Your AOL account.
HBH, whatever the numbers are.
So and you guys can connect with us on Facebook at The Daily Commuters, or Instagram, The Daily_Commuters. If you're a visual person, or on YouTube, you can find the link through any of our media pages. If you have a question or topic that you'd like us to maybe talk about in the future, send us an email at askdailycommute@gmail.com, or you can just DM us, because that's what most normal people do anyway.
That's easiest. Yeah.
All right. Adam, do you have any fatherly advice for us?
Yes. Measure your wrapping paper before wrap your present.
I have a present for him to wrap today, actually.
Yeah.
He's much better than me. I've just succumbed to that.
Always measure before you cut.
Wow.
Measure twice. Cut once.
Measure twice.
Measure before you cut.
Measure twice. Cut once. That's right.
Great advice.
I got there.
I'm terrible at rapping, so that's helpful. All right. Well, it's been real.
Can I just note something real quick?
Well, sure.
That Will has on his notes, "We'll see you on the other side."
Well,
Where'd you get that from?
Well,
yeah. It feels like you copied straight off of Lost.
Hannah, can you say the quote? Can you say the quote, Hannah? You do it really well.
Me?
Yeah.
See you in another life, brother.
Yep. All right. We'll see you then.
We'll see you at another
Please
life.
cut that out.
Nope, not cut it out.
Nope, it's
Bye.
in. Bye, guys.